Man, those were the good old days when you could just do whatever the heck you wanted on the internet.
Hello, and welcome to another Dead Pixel. We're a podcast about video games, entertainment, anime, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe. With me, the gentleman who always decides to, put every CD he has, in Ziploc bags. We don't know why. We just say okay. Nick, how you doing?
Look, the best way to display your CDs and protect them at the same time is to put them in a Ziploc bag and take a little thumbtack and just put it on the wall, and then you can just use the same old thumbtack holes, and you can throw the bag, and it won't hurt the CD. It's the least amount of space. Those old CD books were garbage. I know I have several of them. Um, you would always drag the CD on the zipper as you're trying to get it out, thereby scratching it. Yeah, I'm telling you, Ziploc bags are the way to go. Look it up.
Well, I mean, you do got a point, especially with apartment living. Thumbtacks were your friend. Easy to cover up just a little bit of toothpaste, scrape it off, good to go. Pretend like hope it passes the inspection, and you can get your safety deposit back.
I
Uh,
drilled quite a few holes in the wall at the last place I was in, and some of them were a little bit large, and they did not charge me to fix those. I was going to, if I had time, I was going to try to putty and patch them, pretty much. But I didn't have time, so I was like, well, I probably have to pay like 20 to 50 bucks on that. But they didn't charge you. It's pretty much wear and tear. It's pretty hard to argue that, and they have to repaint the walls and stuff anyway. So it makes sense for them not to have to charge me. But anyway, yeah. So I know all about that, Joe. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Yeah, we've been meeting a lot lately. So yeah, we've had been lucky with all these new game releases or a lot of these conferences and shows. So that's good for us. And we're recording quite a bit early because you're going to be going off to the Great Wilderness, and so we're just going to have this posted up while we're gone. And then for the off week, we're still going to be showing up. We have a special Fallout episode we're going to be posting, and yeah, so I
Yeah,
hope you have yourself a good little stint.
it's
And just remember, I get your shit when you die by a bear, okay?
yes, by a bear. That's in the contract.
I mean, or fire. I mean, fire also, it's mine, even if you're just ICU
mm,
bound.
I
I
don't
mean,
I don't know.
I will fight your father for it, okay? I mean,
Fire's a
no one
little bit
else is going
weird.
to care.
Yeah. So it's funny because the thing that we did that's gonna get posted later, not this week but next week, um, is it's funny because my hair is longer in that, and the camera setup is not as nice. So anyway, that's but the sound quality is just as good or just as bad as always. So that's exciting. Also, before we start on the stupid video game news that we're gonna talk about, I have something to show you. It's PS VR 2.
Welcome to the family. Damn it. Now I got to renew. Ah, okay. So literally as we're speaking, today is my last day for PlayStation Plus. Um I've decided to let it lapse because for the first time since the Vita. So like shortly
Jeez.
after PlayStation Plus,
Your
like I
children
didn't get
have
it
been
right on day
alive
one.
not as long as your as your PS Plus account.
I have so many of those PlayStation Plus games on everything.
Are you gonna
And
get
it
to
served
keep
me really
those?
well. Was that?
Are you gonna get to keep them? Or they all go
You
away?
have them so long you have access. They're your library so long as you have access to PlayStation Plus.
But I mean, like, if you
Um,
lapse, do they all go away, or do you get them back when you?
no, if when you renew, you have access to them again.
Okay,
At least you're supposed to, because it's registered as purchased through, anyways, through the subscription.
right.
And But this with it ending this month, and this month being kind of a garbage PlayStation Plus setup, I think it was AEW. Um, there was I
Streets
can't
of
remember
Rage
the other
4.
Streets of Rage 4 was the only good
That
one,
was the only kind of good one, yeah.
but I already own that. I legit
You already bought it.
because when that game came out, a buddy of mine were like, "We gotta play this." So they quickly, he's like, "I'm like, yeah, well, eventually." Like, no. Then he just sent me a gift card. He's like, "Here's a gift
Oh.
card code. Buy it." I'm like, "Okay, fine, we're buying it." Actually, no, he gave me his credit card number. Now that I think about it, I should just renew my PlayStation Plus with his credit card. You
Yeah.
know what? I might do that as a joke later, and just to see how long it takes to notice.
Oh
Like
gosh.
4 months down the road.
Uh,
Like, why is this recurring charge happening?
why is there like a
Uh,
$130 charge for PlayStation Plus Premium?
but yes, and no, it was a SpongeBob game. That's right. This
Oh
month
yeah.
was a SpongeBob game, and I'm like, yeah. So the only good game I already own. It was very disappointing, and so I figured I was going to go ahead and push that off, and
Well, you may as well. I
sometime in
mean,
the
I'm going to
future.
be in the woods until until the last week of the month. So I think you should just at least hold off for 2 weeks or something before
Okay.
you restart it.
Well, we didn't. I don't think we talked about it before, but with PlayStation and their state of play, they also with the PlayStation Premium. Why they don't have it with the extra or at least like the basic model, but they have it on the premium is the PlayStation Plus. They have a couple included games which are like real knockouts. I'm pretty sure it's What the Golf, which is great solo or multiplayer game. The courses are fantastic on that. They have was it Saints and Sinners, which is The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, 1 and 2, phenomenal. That's the same team who's doing the Behemoth, the new PS2 VR game Behemoth, and honestly, probably some of the best PS2 VR shooting games, just full stop. So and then there's a few others that I'm can't remember off the top of my head that are also, and like I think almost all of them are like really really solid, except for like one is just like okay, but still, I mean, it's like for the PlayStation Premium, just upgrade for like a month, get Phil, and yeah, it's a great way to experience those titles. If you want anything, then maybe buy it for real, but honestly, I own most of those games that are on the premium list anyways. So that's why it didn't entice me as well. So I'm like, there's no reason for me to upgrade. Um, I know premium also lets you have the classic catalog. Extras gives you the basic PlayStation current catalog, and then the premium also gives you apparently a handful of movies. Because if you want to see was that Morbius, that banger. So
That was on Netflix
uh,
a long while ago.
I mean,
Started
they
to
might
watch it.
have Madam Web now. Who knows?
I mean, Netflix has Madam Web, so yeah.
Well, yeah, I know yours. Since you bought it, if you bought it from the PlayStation Store, they gave a free year of Netflix Premium. That was part of the State of Play package.
Yeah, the way they
Uh,
do it too is actually pretty cool. It's not just like because I started to read about it and like on Reddit, people were kind of asking like, how is it doled out? Because it's like, well, which kind? It's premium, but like, is it? Well, what stipulations are there? Like, if you have this or other thing or whatever. Um, so the way they do it is it's a year's worth of credit for premium. So if you have like I think you still have to have premium, but like I have um, but like I have my account and then I pay the extra $7 or whatever for my mom to have an account. So I was like, I wonder if it'll work for that. But it just so I have to pay more essentially. So it just gives you like 250 or 240 or whatever a year's worth is for premium, and then so it'll just start siphoning off of that credit amount. So I'll run out of it sooner than a year, but it's still basically like $240 off of the PSVR 2 for me. So it's pretty cool.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, it was a good deal. I wasn't sure. You kind of talked about getting into it, but I know uh, you've also been kind of doing some other big purchases lately. So I was just like, all right, maybe he'll just throw it to the side. But no,
If
that's super exciting.
if the
There's a couple games.
if the
Yeah.
Netflix thing hadn't been there, it would have been a harder decision. it would have been like, yeah, I don't know, because this month is already going to be kind of tight as it is because of the spending I have to do on the vacation. But being down $100, being what is it was like $100 off,
Yeah,
right?
it dropped $100, and you went with the base one, didn't come with not the bundled in with Horizon, which is what I originally did as well.
Yeah, I thought
So,
about it, but I was like, I'll just get that. Like, I don't know if I really want to play that. There's other things that I think I'd rather play, and so I was like, I'll just spend the $50 on something else, and then that'll probably be discounted at some point anyway. So I was like, I'll just get that later if I decide I want it. But yeah, so I actually haven't had time to even open it. I just got it. I think I got it like over the weekend or just prior to the weekend, and I've been
all right,
trying to get ready for other stuff. So I just know I'm not going to have enough time.
you're gonna want to get just regular microfiber glasses cleaners, just those
Uh,
cloth, and that's what you use. Just dry cloth, wipe away, no liquids. Uh, so many horror stories about people scratching their lenses. One of the other things you might want to use to upgrade with is a uh, either prescription if you have a prescription or just a plain lens cover. They have these magnet covers that that go over, so then therefore you actually have a piece of glass covering it. There's a couple manufacturers. I know a lot of people like Real Optics. It's spelt funny. Or there's like Rock, which apparently those like kind of have in the past have fallen out over time, but I assume they fixed it by now because it's been over a year. And there's like at least one other brand, but you can get your prescription lenses in, or you can get just a plain lens. And then if you want to wear, if you have glasses, or if you have friends who wear glasses, just that way no one accidentally scratches the lenses. That's a really important way thing, investment, because if you do scratch lenses, you're kind of effed, and you have to
okay.
send it in. So
Yeah.
it's a really good way to prevent any further damage.
Uh,
So
s-
that's
uh,
the only real thing I recommend buying
Send me the links to those things. I mean, the microfiber
for
cloths,
sure.
but anything that because I mean, I can probably find it, but I know you've already done the research to figure out what is best. So I'll just go off of what you have.
All right,
That'll be the best thing I think.
all right. Well, Xbox had their showcase. After just a couple days after Keighley did his Summer's Game Fest, and so yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and kick off this whole Xbox list of stuff. I'm not sure if they're in exact order, but they at least
This should be
are all
in.
there in
It,
one. Like the game should almost all be there, and if skipped one, well, there was a lot of them.
I mean,
So
I watched it, and I think you did too, and this is from a list that I looked up as well, and this should be everything in order. I don't think anything is even missed here. So that should be good. But I think first though I'd like to I don't know. Uh, I guess we'll save it until the end. I was gonna ask what you think, like what you thought of the whole show, in general, but probably better to save that until after we're done talking about the showcases, individual parts. So, yeah, okay.
sure, all right. Well, kick us off, man.
So first up was Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Um, it looks like a Call of Duty. It looks very nice. I mean, it kind of makes sense that they would show this first because it's kind of their. I mean, it's probably not the whole reason they bought Activision, but it's a pretty dang big reason that they bought Activision, I imagine. And it's probably their. I mean, it's got to be like their baby, right? It's got to be like the most important thing that Xbox and Microsoft um, games, has. I would think so. Anyway, it looks good. But if you're into Black Ops or if you're into Call of Duty, um, it's going back to the early '90s, Cold War type stuff. So yeah, I guess it's a little bit retro that way. And
Well, it's
yeah,
always. Have you ever played any of the Black Ops stuff?
I haven't now.
Okay, so the whole thing with Black Ops is literally kind of going through different stories, but going in the past, and then there being like a big conspiracy
Okay.
theories and how things have been redacted, and that's a lot of people figured out real quick when they announced the Xbox showcase.
Mm.
They showed the Call of Duty logo, but it also had redacted parts on it.
Oh.
So everyone pretty much jumped on right away, being like, "Yeah, okay, so they're talking about Call of Duty Black Ops 6. Got it." Which I found it hilarious when watching this. I'm like, I had to double take. I'm like, did they make did they make Robert Redford but not have Robert Redford? Like Adler, one of the main guys, like they completely make him look like Robert Redford from what was it, Last Castle or something like that,
Oh,
or
yeah.
Spy Game. Essentially, Spy Game is the big one.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. Yeah, Spy Game with him and Brad Pitt. Right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's just funny because it's like, I'm like, well, I had to look it up because I'm like, if they got real Robert Redford, that'd be really cool, but I don't, I didn't
He's
see him pop
gotta
up
be
anywhere. So
really old now, right?
yeah, but I mean, he's still a legend, and
Yeah.
he does stuff. He does whatever he wants for fun. That's the thing, is he kind of made the Cannes Film Festival, if I remember correctly, and
Yeah.
he had all the pull, but he still does like these what we consider like B tier, like indie films,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's like, wow, like you literally can write your own checks, and you're like, you choose to do what you want. Like that's kind of nice.
It's cool.
If only we could all be like that.
Um,
So all right, but yeah, Black Ops. The big thing is they said it's going to be day one, uh, Game Pass, and they said that it's going to be coming out on other platforms. So that's going to be a big win for Game Pass. If anything else, that month you'll see a big uptick in subscribers. So
yeah, because I mean, like that's what's I mean, people are complaining about Game Pass not giving enough like AAA games to make it worthwhile. People had been doing the math, which I thought was really weird, but they were like, there has to be a AAA game basically once every 3 months, or else it wasn't worth it, or something like that. And I was just like, okay, but this will definitely see a huge uptick. And then, I mean, like at that point, you may as well just like if you're really into Call of Duty and you kind of have a system that can play Game Pass, or you have Game Pass already, sort of, then yeah, it makes sense to just go ahead and freaking just keep this, especially if they decide to throw like bonuses and stuff that you don't have to, because it's like if you start paying 15 a month or 12 a month, then after 6 months, then you're overpaying for Call of Duty. But if they start giving stuff for that subscription, then which I don't know if they can legally, but I imagine things like that will start to creep in if they can at all. And then
they can give extra stuff for the Game Pass members. They've done it for other online games where you get like special outfits, packs, and stuff like that. So the thing is, the dark cynical side of me went, oh cool, Black Ops 6, and it's like Treyarch and Ravensoft being like the smaller company out of Madison,
yeah,
if I'm and they've been a support studio forever. I'm like, okay, how many of you guys are getting fired now? Like, just because your game's out, they can cut some extra fat now. Like,
yeah,
now, man, it's just like no one's safe, especially after like Tango GameWorks and whatnot. So
yeah. It's I think, yeah. I mean, that's kind of getting off topic probably, but I do imagine that Microsoft is going to continue to make cuts slowly over time, but they're I think they're still coming. And I don't know how that's going to. I don't know how well these games they bought are going to continue to do. Like are these studios they bought are going to continue to do. Um, I think I'm already seeing cracks around it, and it's like they can do fine for a while, but the first time that they mess up, well, then Microsoft's going to drop the axe and like, well, you guys messed up, so now we're going to come in and make all these changes. Like, well, that's what happens.
well, especially with something like this being their first go at it, like
Yeah,
this is their first iteration, and then not even specifically like in house for full development, and I can then be like, well, it didn't meet our expectations, so yeah, see you guys. We got plenty of others who can fill your space. I'm like, it's once again, it's a cynical side of me. I hope it's not true, and obviously, I don't want anyone to lose their job, but anyone who's in the industry who's working under their thumb, every time they release a new game, they're like, okay, we now have to give a new pitch meeting for our next project. hopefully they won't let us go, and hopefully they'll sign us on. Like that's a a scary thing, especially when you look at it from was it the Day of the Devs? Because the guys who did was it Grim Fandango?
Oh yeah.
I can't, I'm dropping his name now. I forget what, but anyways, his company, like they saved Double Fine. Because Double Fine, the whole hero story is Xbox came in and saved them because they were going like from game to game, like having a hard time. And Xbox, like, or Microsoft, Xbox slash Microsoft is the hero of that, behind the scenes story. And now it's just the opposite, So
Yeah, yeah, sort of like Nintendo and Bayonetta a little bit. Yeah, it's I don't think they're going to be quite like EA, but I wouldn't put it past them. And over the next 10 years, well, we'll just have to
okay,
see.
yeah, let's move on to the next one because there's a lot of games.
Yeah, I won't go that much into a lot of these. Doom though, Doom: The Dark Ages, uh, which I mean, we had Doom and then basically Doom 2, which is Doom Eternal. Um, and I heard different things. I heard people say Doom Eternal was great, amazing. And I heard people say Doom Eternal was meh. So I don't really know where that game ended up, but I just don't understand. Like the Dark Ages, it's cool. It's like a cool idea in theory as like a DLC to me. I don't know about making a whole third installment. I don't know really what this does with the lore. And it's like, dude, it's just Doom lore. It doesn't mean it's like, yeah, but it's kind of important. It's kind of important to sort of take it seriously. And I mean, all the gameplay
So
and
then you
everything
need
looks
this
nice.
game. If you're into Doom lore, then this game makes way more sense. Considering the fact that when
Was
the
that in the
Doom
old Doom
remake,
3 or whatever? Sorry, go ahead.
well, when they remade Doom, that's when they hinted at more Doom lore than there had ever been because he was in a cryo sleep. They talked about the legend of the Doom Slayer, uh, all this other stuff. So they're really playing into their own lore, like they're remaking of everything. Then also, I mean, going back to that time frame, it's like, well, what can be more metal? You're already fighting demons, and now you make it, give them a shield, and honestly, you should probably give them an axe, but that's too many axes lately. So, but it looks like a shield comes back just like an axe, so you're good.
I mean, I'm just thinking like if I want to play Doom, I want to play guns and lasers and demons. Um, and it's just, I mean, it just doesn't really, it doesn't really jive with me. I didn't play the second one as it is. I thought the first one was very good. I didn't play the Eternal though, and so I'm kind of out of it as it is. But I was like, well, this makes me really not want to try it,
Well, on
anyway.
on PC, for example, Metacritic, an 88 on both.
Okay.
88 and 8.8.
That's
We're
really good.
talking 6,000 plus users and 68 critics
Okay.
for Eternal. I mean, I know the only quote knock I've heard about Eternal was that it was like kind of more of the same,
Yeah.
uh, but it was still excellently executed. Essentially, is what it was. So, um, yeah, I never finished the remake, and so therefore I was I'm one of those people that has a hard time going to a sequel if I don't finish the predecessor, unless if it's a clear like jumping off point.
Yeah.
And I know it really doesn't matter for Doom, but at the same time, it's like one of those. It's a me thing. No, I think this looks good. I mean, I knew it was rumored for a while about some quote unquote Doom Zero is what I was being people were talking about. So having it have official title Dark Age, that's way better than Zero. Uh,
The Dark Ages.
and
Yeah.
yeah, so I'm cool with that. It'll play. I'm pretty sure it'll be just great, and the music will still kick ass. And yeah,
Yeah.
so people get what they want.
So next up,
All right.
State of Decay 3. I never played any of the State of Decay. Did you ever play any of these?
Oh yeah, I played crap out of State of Decay too.
So I
A
thought.
bunch of different friends. We'd all get together. You could play up to 4 players. It was quite a bit of fun. Uh, they did the unfortunate thing though is like everyone had to spawn their own world, and then you would then
Oh,
summon your friends can then port over. So you wouldn't get any progress, but you would get supplies and weapons.
did you have me
And
play
you
this for like a minute one time?
I think we played a little bit on your old computer, Rick, but it was just a little difficult. But yeah, it's
Yeah.
I played through, like, it was easy enough. You can it was the hardest difficulty was a decent challenge, and you could tweak a lot of the certain things. You can tweak exactly how much survival you want, or tweak the difficulty of enemies. So it gave a little more flexibility than the average like low, medium, and or like hard difficulty essentially.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was pretty nice. It's a good fun game for most people, and to see them, bring the tech up, or to make some. I'm hoping for better mission structures, quality of life stuff. Uh, hopefully more parity amongst playing with friends, because it was a little jank to try to get to get your friends to come over. You accidentally somehow, like, you think it's on private, next thing you know, other people are just randos are just jumping in. Then you're like, either I have to kick him, or I'm just going to pull out and just bail and then reload it again. So
Yeah.
it was a little janky, but it was a fun game. So I'm excited for 3. And that's about it.
Okay. Yeah. So that one looks. It looked all right. Hopefully it'll be a good improvement on the second one. Next up, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I kind of feel like. So first of all, I didn't really care for the art style in this. It's just a little bit too on the cartoony side. I remember, Dragon Age, Origins, and then 2 and 3 or whatever they were called. They were a little bit more realistic attempts, for the time, and thought they looked pretty good at least. This I was just kind of immediately turned off. It's like a little bit too oversaturated, in some of the colors and some of the character designs. And I didn't really see much from this that I thought that made me really want to play it. I feel like Baldur's Gate, and there's some other game that I was thinking of, but anyway, I feel like those games. There's other games at least that have kind of eaten the lunch of Dragon Age, um, and I just don't really. I don't know. This didn't really look particularly. It didn't look bad. It looked fine, but I was just like, it doesn't really look like Dragon Age. Again, kind of me with the Doom Dark Ages thing, but it also just it just didn't really look like something that I would want to play in its own right.
Yeah, the original Dragon Age games were very mechanics clunky. They gave you a lot of options, but it was very like systems heavy game. It was just very like cumbersome, and uh, it, I liked what was there, but it was just very hard to deal with. They eventually made things more smooth and streamlined as Dragon Age 2, and then Inquisition came out. But this one, it just being a trailer, it's it kind of was just a as a weird character piece trailer, being like, yeah, here's the crew, right? You get to quickly see everyone, and rando player character will be our leader. Like, it was just a kind of
Oh
a
yeah,
weird way to introduce it.
yeah.
But you get a quick vibe for who's going to be in it. And I guess if it's it's weird to say this about like an RPG, or like, I guess if it's more action RPG, or like turn instead of being like the traditional turn base, and if they can make it a little more free and like free flowing, because some of those games like Boulder's Gate, or um, oh goodness, Origin, Divinity, or Original Sin 2. Like, Original Sin 2 is all turn based, but you can do a lot. There's a lot of flexibility. But in this case, if you made it with like more of a quote unquote arcadey style, where you can not quite action, like action RPG, but just something a little more faster pace, I think might at least set it apart. Because if you want something heavy in lore, heavy in story and branching and stuff like that, it is very hard to compete with what Baldur's Gate came out with. Um,
Yeah.
but that's why you change the tone and you try to do things a little bit different. And it's kind of hard. It's a little too early to tell. But I didn't get into Inquisition. Just
Oh, that was it. Yeah, Inquisition.
I just kind of fell off, with Dragon Age at that time. So I heard a lot of good things about it. It just wasn't for me. It didn't really speak to me. So I'm not really sure if I'll get into this, but I think at this point I've said it multiple times. I've kind of fallen off of high fantasy. So when it comes to RPGs, I just really have a hard time going back to it. Something like Baldur's Gate, like something that you can play multiplayer, I'm okay with because at least having friends makes a lot of things more tolerable. Or completely gets you like angry at your friends, and then it causes a rift sometimes. Um, yeah, you always have that friend who decides to change their build last minute, and you're like, you kidding me? We're about to fight somebody serious, and you're changing the way you play
Oh, wait, just a second,
now.
just a second. This move gonna be better. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So yeah, that's coming out. Next up, Fallout 76 Skyline. This is a expansion, I guess, or whatever. Skyline Valley. I mean, for the poop show that Fallout 76 has been, this actually looks kind of cool, kind of interesting. Um, I think it's a little bit. It has like stuff about experimentation and kind of ghouls running vaults. It looks like, and just kind of different things. So, if you're into Fallout 76, then this might be for you. I I played a little bit of it when it first came out, and I think I don't say it. Well, I shouldn't say right when it first came out. After they fixed it a little bit, then I played a little bit of it, and the base game just didn't really do it for me. It's just a little bit too checkboxy for my taste. But this one looks good as far as Fallout goes, I would say.
all right.
Next up,
Yeah, I didn't play it. I played it when it first came out when it was broken, and I'm like, this plays a little too similar to Fallout 4, and I never finished 4, and I really don't. If I'm gonna play one of those two, I'll go back to 4. That's it. I had no the online the multiplayer stuff didn't speak to me. So yeah, but no, yeah, the next one I'm interested in.
yeah, I was gonna say this one's a little bit more up your alley. Starfield, Shattered Space. So this is a DLC for Starfield, and it is very much along. It's a more horror vibe that they're going for here. And yeah, so what did you think about this?
Yeah, I thought it was a weird direction to go in, but at the same time, I'm very much into the cosmic horror aspect, and so like to even attempt something like this, so I'm like, yeah, that's good. It looks a bit different from a lot of the other stuff. It gives me a reason to get step back into the game because I put a lot of time into it for a while, but I never actually beat the game proper. So I just kind of like I got really far, and then somehow or another I got the ending spoiled to me, and I'm like, oh great. And then I just kind of new games came out, and I just got sidetracked. Um, so that but coming back, getting a reason to go back in is great, and especially if it's on Game Pass and stuff like that. I'm like, you know what,
I
that'd be
think
cool.
I think at one point you
Uh,
said you were 12 hours into the first 2 hours. Like,
yes,
yeah, that's what a
I
lot of
wandered way
Bethesda
too much
games.
in that game.
That's what a lot of
Yeah,
Bethesda games are like to me. Like I played a lot of Fallout 3, but I didn't get very far in the story back in the day. And it's kind of the same thing with New Vegas, just like wandering around and getting like sidetracked. Oh, what's that over there? Yeah, those games are bad for that. Next up, World of Warcraft expansion. I guess the War Within or War Within. Um, so this is the new Warcraft thing that's going to happen. Joe, you and I were just talking about before the cast how how good they have been able to make WoW look, even though it's a very old game. Despite that, it still looks pretty pretty old. Old game is old, but yeah, they're still supporting it, and it looks like this is going to be a full on kind of expansion. Um, yeah,
yeah, it's one of those things that I've just never stepped into it. I ended up playing some other stuff. Guild Wars was the one thing I played when it comes to really putting time to an MMO.
yeah.
Uh, but that was just because I worked at the GameStop during the WoW peak, and I just could not. I couldn't handle the people who played WoW, and that was mostly my coworkers. And
Yeah.
I'm like, that you guys sound like just terrible people to deal with online, and then a lot of the customers. So I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I understand the fun behind it, but but also I couldn't. The idea of paying monthly when I was living from check rent,
I mean,
paycheck to paycheck. I'm like, I ain't paying monthly for squat.
yeah, I knew a lot of people in college that were playing it back then, and I was just like, they were. I mean, as broke as I was, and I was like, how are you guys affording this? Because I mean, it was like it's probably laughably a small amount of money compared to what I pay for stuff now. But I feel like it was like $15 a month, or maybe it was probably like $8 a month. But I was still just like, $8 a month. How are you affording
You
that?
bought the game and you're paying monthly for it.
And
You
you're
know,
paying
yeah.
for it. It's like mind blowing to me. Because it was probably fairly reasonable, but I just remember thinking at the time, like, how are these people affording it? And people were getting super addicted. But anyway, that's the old
You were
days.
still paying for ringtones back when WoW first came out. So
I did pay for some ringtones. I paid for probably 10, I think. And one of those was definitely the Final Fantasy VII victory song. Um,
um, One Wing
Gosh.
Angel, but I had a coworker who had the all the adapters for different phones, and he had the software to take a song and rip it to MIDI and then
Gosh.
put it on your phone.
Yeah, and then you figured out how to do that, and then it's just like, hey, man, those were the good old days when you could just do whatever the heck you wanted on the internet. Um, wow.
The internet was a better place, especially when like the you had like stuff like Leroy Jenkins, and it was a lot less hate, more griefing, but like just not the same level of trolling you get nowadays. That's for sure. It was more innocent time. We didn't know how
It
good we
was,
had it.
yeah, it was a simpler time, that's for sure.
All
Um,
right.
so next up, Claire Obscure, or I think it's, yeah, Claire Obscure Expedition 33. Um, this game, I don't even remember what this game is really about all that much, but it seems like it's like a mystery, and it just seems like it's not like a murder mystery exactly, though I think that's part of it. It did seem like it had some supernatural elements to it as well, and just how they're putting it out there just seemed good and weird in the ways that I like. So I was like, I'm gonna keep track of this. I'm gonna see what else they have to say about it, and then if it continues to be kind of interesting, then I might pick it up. But it looked interesting to say the
So
least.
yeah, it's the rough story is there's an island. Some lady drops the number every year, and it wipes out a bunch of people. So they send expeditions out to try to
Oh,
stop
that's
her,
it.
essentially.
Yeah.
Um, and the gameplay, for what little they showed, it reminded me of Final Fantasy X. So it looked like a turn-based RPG. You
Yeah,
had
that
your
was it.
characters on the bottom. You
Uh,
have the order on the side. So you had the faces and then the enemy. So who had what turn order. So yeah, that's
but
exactly what
but
I
there's
gleaned
like
from it.
there's like more to it too. I think there was like with the combat, it looked like every turn was sort of its own mini game, kind of where you had to like
It
hit a right button or something, and you get something kind of combo-y in there. Which
It's the Super Mario RPG. It's like if
okay,
you time your attacks, it looked like that's what the vibe I got is.
yeah,
If you time your attacks well, you do extra boost damage or continue the combo. And then if you don't, then you just do base damage or something.
okay, interesting. So yeah, I'm gonna keep looking at that and see. It looks like at least I got a kind of a different idea that's going on there. I don't know how I feel like about the name, for a first title to have a subtitle is kind of weird, and the Claire Obscure is
Well,
just
you
sort of
you know that they can at least go.
okay.
At least they'll make 33 or 32 more of these, and then when they finally get to number one, then they can revamp it and do the prequels from 34 on up, and then you can see how how it all started.
Yeah, yeah, that'll be a good idea. I think they should have just gone with obscure or something like that. I don't know. Maybe it'll make sense later. Anyway, next up, South of Midnight, which you had some opinions about the art style in this, but and I'm get to that in a second. But like the I don't know, like I liked the art style in general, and then I liked this the kind of the setting. So the trailer starts out with um, a black girl, probably in like somewhere between like 16 and 20 years old, somewhere in there. Um, and she's riding a giant catfish with like half of its body kind of sticking out of the water, and they're talking, and it's like set in like New Orleans, uh, or like or at least Louisiana kind of area, kind of bayou sort of uh, seeming setting. It has a unique-ish, I guess, art style. It's sort of like the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, movies and stuff like that. It's similar to that, and they show some gameplay. It looks a little bit, I don't want to say generic, but maybe a little bit on the generic side for like a kind of an action, kind of magic using sort of type of fantasy, but set in New Orleans. But anyway, it had some really good cutscenes. I'll tell you that much. They're pretty cool cutscenes, and they kind of show you basically what you're doing in that game. Um, but the setting and stuff like that are unique and interesting, and they seem to be nailing the voice acting. That's pretty cool. So that caught my interest maybe more than anything else on here. Maybe, and so I'm gonna keep track of that. But you had some opinions on this as well, right?
Yeah, well, this isn't the first time we've seen this. I mean, they showed it last year. This exact trailer, is all new, but they originally showed this last year at 2013's Xbox like showcase. So
Okay.
that one was her talking to um, like a zombie, like essentially playing a guitar, some sort of undead kind of guy. And that so they kind of kept it brief on that one. It was just a simple teaser trailer. So we saw the art style then as well. We weren't sure about any of the gameplay and how that worked. Uh, I was expecting some sort of like Baron Saturday kind of uh, you know mythos or something like that. Uh, but yeah, in this trailer, the gameplay itself looks like it's going to be like a action hero style gameplay. You see the way you traverse and use like a floating power, something similar to riding the currents of Spider-Man 2 or Marvel's Spider-Man 2. How Miles and Peter have like the winged websuits, but she does like a parachute of like what looks like electricity, and she can kind of glide for further distances and stuff like that. So it's going to be some sort of action-based game of that nature, I think, closer to a Spider-Man or Infamous or something like that. And the gameplay, the actual gameplay looked okay to me. They didn't show really a lot of combat. Just I think they only showed just a small smidge. But uh, jumping from that to the cutscenes, I found jarring because you're going from purposefully really choppy cutscenes to uh, gameplay, and which is going to be a higher, smoother rate. I think it doesn't mesh well, and I actually am kind of disappointed in that.
Mm,
Um, I'd prefer them to stick with one or the other, and I think the actual art assets themselves look great. So I don't think there's any reason to have it be that half frame rate, the choppiness that you get in the new Spider-Man movies.
mhm.
So I kind of am curious about seeing how like the next gen graphics cards and how they handle like um, frame interpolation and seeing if you can up the frame rate
And
and put
smooth
in
it out.
the AI frame generation and then
Yeah.
make it smooth. I'm really curious to see how people do that because I think that'd be really fun. Just if anything else, just as an experiment. But yeah, the game looks fine. I just the cutscenes by themselves look fine, but having them mesh together like that, I think doesn't look good. And so that's why it's like I would rather have them just had a smooth frame rate with their art style because that art style is good, especially that original trailer. If you go ahead and look it up sometime,
Okay.
it's a short trailer and it was a cool tonal piece. And I'm like, I remember being super stoked last year when I talked about it because I'm like, that just looks really cool. It has a good vibe to it, and this also has a good vibe. Pretty fun uh, location and just there are a lot of stuff you can play around with, something you don't see very often. And like I said, that's why I was expecting. I'm pretty sure if you look back on our podcast, then I mentioned expecting something like a Baron Saturday or something. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah.
that's so hopefully that'll come out when it comes out, it'll be yeah, I'm hopeful.
Yeah. So, are all these games coming to Game Pass? Like, immediately? Was it
Um,
they kept flashing up?
so certain ones, no, certain ones they said Game Pass, other ones they did not. So I actually, um,
I don't know which ones are which now, but
yeah, they said them in a lot of the showcases themselves. They'll say coming, they said like a statement like Game Pass on it like beforehand, and I honestly don't remember at this point.
yeah, okay, yeah. But anyway, so I did like the setting that they picked, for South of Midnight. It's something that doesn't get explored very often, so I thought it was kind of cool. Um, Next up, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater. This does not look good. It looks like if it wasn't Metal Gear Solid, it would be maybe fine, maybe just okay, but it's doesn't. It just looks like it's pretty devoid of personality. Um, there's some things that are, I don't know. It kind of feels like they're, I don't know. It's kind of got an interesting idea with him with like not being able, with like not having any weapons or equipment when you get like when you start the mission or whatever, and that's like the conceit of the game. Um,
Say,
but
have you not played the original Snake Eater?
uh, oh, is that? Oh, yeah. This is
This is a
based.
remake. This is the
Yeah.
remake of Snake Eater.
Okay. I don't know. This still just doesn't seem very.
Uh, so Snake Eater is probably the best, like, or at least a close second to the
Okay.
best story in the series. It's the history of Big Boss. I don't feel like this one needed to be remade.
Hmm.
I mean, honestly, I think more people want a remake of the original more than anything, or at least maybe also four. Four is probably where everyone fell off, and no one. And that's probably kind of the worst of the series. But also, it's never been ported from PS3,
Okay.
so there's no way to play it. So, but
I
yeah,
remember now.
this is
Yeah.
yeah.
Before I knew it was a remake, I was thinking, wow, this looks not this does not look all that great. So I was kind of judging it by 2024 standards. And then I remember it flashing up while I was doing something. Oh, this is a remake. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Okay. I
One of the
guess.
best opening theme songs in any game. Yeah, they had a Bond like song, yeah, called Snake Eater, and it's an awesome song. But this one, the only real new thing I'm aware of is I recently read something. I forget where I read it, but they were talking about how the damage he takes, whether it be bullet wounds or cuts or something or bruising, will occur on his body and last over the time of the story of the game.
Okay.
So kind of telling you your own story, depending on how much you get shot or cut up or something like that, which is neat. I don't know if I really care, but it's a neat concept. So I kind of hope that it shows well towards the end. I want to see someone who plays really bad, who just comes out looking just thrashed, like a meat
Yeah.
grinder survivor. But I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those like I feel like that's just one of those statements that on the surface you're like, yeah, you're just telling me anything just to get it's a fluff piece, try to make it sound cool and sound good. Peter Molyneux promised me that I can cut down a tree and then by the end of the game it'd be fully grown, but that never happened. So it's one of those kind of statements that until seeing is believing. But yeah,
Well, I mean, I don't really know.
Snake
It's
Eater, solid game to play. Hopefully they don't screw up the remake. That's all I could say.
yeah. I don't. Yeah. I don't know what has showing more cuts that are not really part of that are just part of you screwing up. I don't know what that's really gonna do. Next up, Sea of Thieves season 13. Hard to believe there's already 13 seasons of that, but I guess they go more than one a year. So that's still going on. Yeah, enjoy Sea of Thieves. Next up, Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn. I don't remember what this one was. Do you?
No, I have no recollection of this one either. Some of them, I will admit, I just cannot remember too well. Flintlock, like, yeah, I have no recollection of this one either. It's just,
It's. I feel like I should remember it, but anyway, wasn't that cool to us? I guess. Next up, Perfect Dark, the reboot for Perfect Dark, is coming out. Um, I think that this one and Flintlock looked too similar to me, or this one like anyway. This Perfect Dark, it looks Um, it just doesn't. It just looks it just kind of looks generic to me. Um, it looks okay, but I'm just like, what are we really like? What like why did we bring Perfect Dark back to just kind of make an espionage game with a girl? I feel
I'm
like,
actually really excited about this.
but I mean, but like the way that the way that Perfect Dark looked on the 64, it had a style, and it was GoldenEye. You know, it was all that stuff, but it had its own sort of like dark mystique kind of style to it. And this, I just feel like she's just she's just James Bond in in some exotic part of the world, trying to track something down. I don't know. It just the aesthetic of it didn't really it seemed kind of bland, or just kind of the same as everything else. And then the gameplay looked okay. I mean, it looked pretty cool on some things, but it didn't blow me away. What did you think of this?
So, I before I realized it was Perfect Dark, or before they said it was, um, I was trying to figure out who this was because and then they said Crystal Dynamics. I'm like, all right, sweet, because Crystal Dynamics makes some pretty solid things, and uh, the thing is, the vibes I was getting from it was like Deus Ex, because the setting
Yeah,
they made it a little more future tech, not necessarily too far flung in the future, but essentially it looked like an immersive sim, and I'm very much into immersive sims. Like, unfortunately, they're a dying game, like
yeah.
breed of game. Second Deus Ex, Mankind Divided, was not well received as the first, and then you had the last one that I can really remember that really swung for the fences was at Arcane Austin. I think they did the Prey. I think they're the ones who did Prey
I think so.
reboot, and that was a really good game for what I played of it. Unfortunately, I never finished it. Um, but that one was also just different enough. Like, so I actually really like I said, I like the idea of it being some a game where they don't show any tech trees or anything like that. So I could be really off. But they showed you like sneaking around the city. They showed you like running, jumping, climbing up a gutter, rain gutter, and trying to sneak your way in. But it also shows guns and some possible gunplay. So yeah, I'm hoping this is more of that immersive sim style of game where it may not be a sandbox of a level, but at least hopefully give you you know a big enough play field for you to come at things in different ways. You can either that's what I'm hoping for. uh yeah, the Perfect Dark brand doesn't matter to me.
I know.
I'm not too hung up on that. It's just, but it's one of those things that, hey, it's an IP they got floating around. Why not use it? It's easier to sell for those who do recognize it, or at least it's a recognizable name at the very least. So yeah, that part doesn't matter. That's the marketing, and that's all about the CEO stuff. But hey, Crystal Dynamics does generally pretty good stuff, and I'm okay with that because they did the Tomb Raider remakes, and which were fun, the last series. So yeah, I'm also hopeful for this. But once again, I'm not hung up on the Perfect Dark name.
Yeah, I kind of wish they'd saved it for something that they, I don't know, will give a little more pomp and circumstance. But it's not that big of a name as
Look
it
how
is.
Halo turned out, man. The last Halo should have been the biggest pomp and circumstance, and they just kind of flubbed it. So I'm
Yeah,
I
Xbox
don't
just
think I don't
doesn't
think
do
nothing
things that
has
way.
that pop like it used to.
Well, I mean, Xbox is not doing stuff that way. They're just choosing not to do stuff that way. That's more PlayStation's mo, um, and it's a different strategy. I mean, I think they're saving money, um, by doing it that way. But I kind of I don't know. I feel like um, th- they should be a little bit more careful with some of the IP that they have, and not really just throwing it out there. But it'll probably be good, and we'll just see how it goes. Next up, Age of Mythology Retold. Um, don't really know much about this. Don't really care too much. I just wish that they had not used the word retold. I think I would have used like untold, or like something different
Well, you do
than,
know this is also like a reboot, right?
yeah, but retold is boring. like like don't like retold. I mean, okay.
Yeah, but it's a myth. It's so because it's Age of Mythology, and it's all it's retelling the story. Like
I know what it means. I know what it means. It's just,
so
it's like, I don't know. Retold just sounds this. It's just one of those things to me. There's like this sounds like a bad subtitle, but it's a remake, so it makes sense, to do that. And yeah. But did you ever play any Age of Mythology?
yeah, it was better than the Age of Empire game. It was more fun. I like the whole Greek gods portion, like being able to have some fun with that. But it was one of those things that I think that was the kind of the tail end where started to stop playing RTSs.
Yeah.
I think like there had already been a handful of like around then, and then like the second or third Command and Conquer, like or uh, I forget Red Faction or not Red Faction. I forget what their I'm dropping a blank on the Command and Conquer, you know,
Red
other
Alert.
series. But Red Alert,
Yeah.
thank you, Red Alert. Yep. So after like the second Red Alert, I think so. Like I kind of just stopped playing almost all RTSs like altogether. Just
Yeah.
kind of got burnt out, and it's one of the things that whenever they try to bring back an RTS, it's always weird because I don't know. I think people have changed the way they play, and I think that like older people appreciate it. I don't know if necessarily younger people do, because it's more of a nostalgia kick. Like I remember playing these kind of games, but I don't, if they don't look at, Halo did a really good job making their RTS game, and that didn't really catch wildfire. Then they made a sequel, and nothing really came of it.
Yeah. I think I lost interest in RTSs when I realized how bad I was at them, um, compared to everybody else, and then realized like the proper way to play to win was not fun. Like, like you're supposed to have insane micro skills and build like the one thing and then go kill them and hope that they didn't counter you perfectly, or and then it's just like all the micro and stuff. It's a game that like a lot of RTSs are. It's not the kind of game that you think it is, or it wasn't the kind of game that I thought it was growing up, where it's like, oh, build all this and like build a huge base and like fight off and like see all the different units and then and then go kill them, or like go through the campaign or whatever. I don't know. I guess something about that kind of messed me up a little bit, and I just that and I mean, there's only so far that you can go with those, and I think the new kind of wore off of them. But
So
but the,
playing online is what ruined it for you, is what I heard. Okay,
it's
that's
a
fair.
big part of it. I mean, I did enjoy a lot, but then like it was also like League of Legends, like learning what the matchmaking system actually is, and that you will basically taking the red pill in the matchmaking system matrix, and learning that you will only ever win half of your games, and there are games that are rigged so that you cannot win. Um, and it's just like when you kind of find that stuff out, it's just like, oh, this is stupid. Why? Like it's like worse than gambling, um, in a lot of ways. So anyway, that's kind of just what screwed it up for me. But yeah, so that's coming out. Yeah.
All right.
Next up, Diablo 4 Vessel of Hatred. Um, this is the DLC for Diablo 4. It continues the story, looks like a little bit. Man, Blizzard can make some really good CG cinematic trailers. They are very good at that because this was a very pretty trailer. Very cool story. I mean, simple, and not very long, but it was definitely felt like movie quality, I guess. And all that seemed cool. But then, yeah. So I think I've had my fill of Diablo 4. I definitely enjoyed parts of that game, but sort of the loot grind was not really in my purview. But this looks like it'll be more of that and some different stuff, maybe a little bit of story added in there. So, do you have any interest in this? Are you gonna play it at all?
No, I played the first couple months it was out, and fell off like I did with Diablo 3. Yeah, this new DLC comes with a new character class, at least one, if not two, and it yeah, it does have more to it, but unfortunately, none of my other friends were really into it, and so it was fun to play on the couch with my wife. But then, unfortunately, we just don't get enough time to do that anymore. So it's like it's too hard to do. And the story really wasn't the original story was like it was okay, but it wasn't enough to pull me in and hold me there. And I just don't care about enough about loot grinds. So yep, not interested.
Yeah, yeah. Next up, Fable. This is the reboot of Fable, right? Um,
Yes. So I mean, they're trying to reboot it anyways. Different, no connection really to the tone that I'm aware of, other than like the land to the original story at all. So it's just them, completely starting anew. We've already known about this as well. I mean,
yeah.
they just showed, but they did show more of it, different story trailer. Because the last trailer had, what's his name, Richard. I always pronounce his last name wrong. Iowade or something. He's from the
Ayahuasca.
IT crowd.
Oh,
Um,
oh yeah. I
and
don't know
the
his
British,
name, but I know who you're talking about. But yeah,
yeah. So I mean, that was more exciting. That trailer was more exciting to me just to see him in it and be like, wow, they do a good job making him look like him. And then you find out he's a giant. You're like, oh, literally, like that's awesome. Yeah, this one, oh, they're trying to show more humor, more story. I'll see it. I really don't care. I'll see when it comes out, and hopefully they'll. Um, I don't know. I remember Fable 2 being really fun and Fable 3 falling flat for me. That's all I remember.
I remember hearing bad things about Fable 3. I should go back and play the Fable games. I should download those and play them for a little bit, just because I remember when they were coming out, they were a really big deal, but I didn't have an Xbox. Um, and yeah, I don't. I mean, yeah, I kind of I felt like the thing with Fable was you could do more of anything than other games for the time.
Lots of polygamy. Yep, you can do
Yeah,
lots of polygamy and murder.
that's
Yep, that
plenty.
was it.
That's pretty much all games are polygamy and murder. So yeah, uh, yeah, so that happened, and yeah, I kind of want to see some more of it before I make any judgments. Next up, Fragpunk. I don't remember what this game was really about, but it's another kind of punk, like cyberpunk and cloudpunk and steampunk and all the punks. We now have
Yeah,
Fragpunk.
this one's one of your favorite, man. It's a 5v5. Yeah, so
Oh yeah, yeah. This is a hero shooter. Okay,
yep. I mean, that's all I remember of it, and
they
I
this
literally just
one.
saw the name Frag Punk and went, GTFO. I don't
I
care,
mean,
and yeah.
they even have a. Gosh, her name's already escaped me. What was the tracer? They even have a tracer of their
Oh, do
own.
they?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
the. I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's really their main character, but it's the one that I saw in the thing that I was looking at, and except this one has a hat, so it's different. But yeah, yeah.
Well, every game needs a poster child of some sort, but yeah, no.
Why
Anyways,
why
let's
hero
move on.
shooters now? I'm sorry. Okay. Next up, Winter Burrow. This is about mice in the winter in a burrow. It's
One
got
mouse
one
returning home to an empty
mouse
home.
returning home to an empty home in a wintry burrow. It's got a cute, cartoony art style. Looks pretty simple and like a cozy game.
No, no, it doesn't. Uh,
Is
it
there
is
murder?
literally about them there's a whole dark underlying tone to it, like wondering why the home was empty and unkept. And then you're like, the relative who lived across the bridge, like, why didn't they take care of it? The bridge is out. At the very end, they finally meet a friend of something, and the owl comes and grabs them
Oh yeah,
and
the
takes
owl
them
gets
away.
some.
It's a very it's a
Uh,
very subtle, like, this is a dark something
it's
bad's
it's
afoot.
it's cozy like Watership Down. It's cozy.
It's like what happened if Mrs. Frisbee tried returning back to the home, like the homestead, after the farmers had their way with it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was making dinner while this was going on. I was like, oh, and then I remember the owl, and I was like, oh, that's kind of weird. That's the bad guy. But anyway, so it has a cartoony art style, but is apparently more insidious than I thought. Next up, Mixtape, which is about teenagers being tweens. This one and the next one are that about that. Do you have anything to say about Mixtape, Joe?
Yeah, because this also has that Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse art style, and I hate it in gameplay motion because this one's cutscenes and gameplay. It's all parody. It's all the same. I'm like, great. And what I thought was the problem with the previous, I was just like, oh yeah, well maybe if it plays, I'm like, no, that's right. I remember playing Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and when you get you can get certain suit that animates in that choppy frame, and it's unnerving. It bothers the crowd of me. It's what I assume like those hyper akin first person shooter people who run on like 240 360 hertz monitors and they drop down to 30. They probably have that aneurysm.
They
I mean,
come back into real life, and
it's my version of that, but I'm only watching it at 60, like 1080 60 because that was the that's what they were streaming at.
yeah.
But I'm like, yeah, I don't know. It bothers me how like frame interpolation. Come on, man. New, it's like next gen, graphics cards here to save the day. It looks like it'll have a decent like story of
Yeah.
youths being youths and like looking back on life, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. At the same time, I don't know what era this like. It feels like it's supposed to be mid '90s, but I feel like I feel like
They
their
say
aesthetic.
I think that they said that it's basic. Yeah, it doesn't really know, because I think I remember
Because
watching this and being like, that's like mid to late '90s, and that's like early 2000s. So it's not like it's sticking to really one decade. So I'm wondering if the people that are making it are basically like our age, or maybe a little bit older.
I
Maybe
assume they're older. I assume they're
yeah.
older, and then because I felt like they were trying to get like early to mid '90s, and I'm like because of skating and like the era, because like I feel like they missed the mark on how they look, and like it depends on where you are. I guess that's a big part of it. Is where are they? Because I feel like if it was early '90s, early mid '90s, you're looking at more grunge in the U.S. Um,
It
and if
definitely
I
wasn't
feel like
early
if it's the
'90s,
'80s, if you're trying to hit up
but they
Reading the
did.
Cube with Christian Slater, and that's going to be like and Young Tony Hawk. That's like late '80s,
They did
mid late
have some
'80s.
synthy type stuff in there, like from the '80s. They did have some '80s sounding music,
But I was
but
having that CD player Walkman, because
but
if it was the '80s, you'd have a cassette tape, right?
because like I think there was
So,
actually more stuff going on in the '90s besides the grunge and then the metal and the punk. I think
well, I
there.
mean, you got Smashing Pumpkins and Devo,
I
and Iggy
know, but
Pop,
like
So
I mean I don't know so much about Devo, but like Smashing Pumpkins, I still think of them as like rock. Um, anyway, what I was gonna say is I think there might have been more going on in the '90s as far as music goes than what is typically thought of, or what you and I kind of like went through
it really,
a lot
I
of.
think it's where they are. That's the thing. That'll really determine where kind of will solidify it for me better. Because
Yeah,
if they're in the U.S., where in the U.S. If they're outside the U.S., then cool, just where.
surely
Because
they're in the
you
U.S.,
know,
but maybe they're in Canada. I don't know. But anyway, there were things about this game I'm kind of remembering now that I was like, oh yeah, this. I mean, this is very tweeny, but it did look like it had a little bit of heart to it. A little bit of I don't know, not quite so much. I'm 14 and this is deep. Um, it looked a little bit like there might be some good, serious moments in there,
I
but
feel like
probably
it's a good juxtaposition of what you have coming next.
yeah. So anyway, not enough for me to really want to pick it up, but I was like, maybe that won't be the worst. But speaking of the worst, I'm just joking. The next thing is Life is Strange Double Exposure. This is another Life is Strange game. I'm just kidding. I have nothing against Life is Strange. Whenever it first came out, I thought about buying it and playing it myself, um, but I never did. And it's kind of interesting. I really didn't expect it to kind of. I just never expected Life is Strange to kind of have a whole like zeitgeist, as a game, but it has. Anyway, this one is a new story. I think about the same girl or one of the main
It's the
girls.
sequel, so it's the same. Yeah, it's a more or less a follow up to the original game.
So this is a true sequel.
Yes,
Okay.
same main character.
Okay. So it is that, and then there is a reality, and then there's an alternate reality, and then the girl, the point of interest, the person of interest, gets killed in the one reality, and in the other reality, that is her name Max. Anyway,
Max is your lead. Yes.
yeah, is going to. She has to figure out why she was murdered or try to prevent it or something like that. Anyway, so there's some there's what it's a double exposure. I guess it's also a lot of stuff to do with cameras and photography in this game.
That was her thing in the first one too. So it's
Yeah,
like if you remember the original like cover poster, it's like it was like a Polaroid of her.
this one
I
has
mean, it's a murder
Polaroid.
mystery. It looks good. I mean, it's I don't really have as much attachment to the first one. I think I got it for free. So I remember giving it a shot, and I don't know if actually I'm pretty sure I finished it, but it was one of those things that I know a lot of people really loved it, and it was just not. I mean, it was good, and I was like, it was. I think Square published it back then, so I was
Yeah,
like, oh, that's cool. I'm like that was something that it felt like really out of left field for them. I'm like, that's awesome that they're trying to do new stuff or different things.
yeah,
I didn't really have any desire to play the second game. It was something colors like True Colors or something,
yeah.
and it just didn't really speak to me. So I mean, but this one being an actual sequel, that's cool, and I think a lot of people would like that. Uh, so yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be to see. Good for them for continuing it, I guess. And I like a good adventure game. I mean, that's pretty much
Mm,
what the first one felt like to me. And
mm.
I'm not sure how much it's going to change in this one, but if it plays similar, then I'm all for adventure games coming out.
You and your adventure games, you do love them. Yeah, it definitely has a pretty robust fan base. Next up, Flight Simulator, Microsoft's Flight Simulator, if I'm remembering correctly. Man, this game looks really beautiful. It looks really cool. Um, as far as like a simulator goes, you're just flying around, and the planes and stuff look great. Yeah, if you're into simulators and this is probably the one for you. It kind of makes me want to have a flight stick um, and I don't know, maybe in VR, maybe this will it's supposed to be a dongle coming for PSVR 2 to the PC, so maybe playing this in VR would be kind of cool. But anyway, it looks good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just supposed to be. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's just supposed to be another update to the current Flight Simulator out. I don't know if it's or no, it might actually be a whole new installment now, which is really fast on the heels of the previous one. It's been a handful of years, but still, it's like it was forever since before the last iteration. So, but yeah, the series is good. The tech is getting better all the time, um, and the last one was a lot of fun. So, I'm curious though because I feel like they're going to be burning some bridges just by abandoning the previous ship so early,
Mm,
considering the fact that they had left the series untouched for so long. Um, and it wasn't cheap. Like there was you paid for a lot of upgrades for airports. Like boutique airports is the best way for me to say it. Like you upgraded to the different versions to get like O'Hare or like Heathrow or something like that. So the more busy airports you would pay more for, and that way they would have a lot more detail than say
oh,
your run of the mill like countryside like like small town county airport. But it's like that game is pretty awesome, and I meant to touch back with it when it had they did a Top Gun thing a while back,
huh.
and I never actually got to look at it. But yeah, it's on Game Pass as well. At least the base version is. So at least that way, a lot of people can just see what it's all about for sure.
Okay, yeah, it definitely looked cool. Next up, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. Yeah, This I think it's Troy Baker. I heard is voicing Indiana Jones or in Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones or whatever. He's doing his best Harrison Ford impression, and it's pretty good. I mean, it's you can there's some. It's not perfect because he's not Harrison Ford, but he's doing a pretty good job. Um, and it I don't know. This one did nothing really caught me about this. This doesn't really seem like something that I would really want to play. But it definitely um, looks like they are kind of nailing the aesthetic. I think as far as they can in a game. Um, I could use a little bit more fidelity on some of the assets. I think, but otherwise, it looks like an Indiana Jones movie, but as a game. Anyway, uh, what did you think about this one?
I mean, we got to see, it was mostly just the full cinematic scene, which is, very much, has the feel of movie, which is, that's the good part. I mean, they did the reveal back in January, I believe. So, that showed actually more gameplay. It's Troy Baker does a good job with the voice, or good enough, and the faces all look decent. I think that, I mean, you got, what is it? It's the Wolfenstein guys, right? Machine Games. So it's
Okay,
them making this, and they do a good job about making like bad Nazis. So like the whole new original character for your villain,
they do
and I'm
know.
like, you know
No, they're
what?
Nazis. Yeah,
Yeah. So uh, it'll be entertaining. I think it'll be a good fun blockbuster kind of like hit. It'll feel like it's you're Uncharted, but not. So it'll be a good ride, and that's all you need. Sometimes you just need something to have a lot of your good fun, and uh, you don't need it to be groundbreaking, but I think they're going to do a lot of things right, and good for them. I mean, I really hope that it comes out well.
yeah, me too. So these next ones, I don't really know too much about. Some kind of or they're already known kind of quantities here. So I'm just gonna kind of run through some of them. So Wu Chang, Fallen Feathers. I don't really remember what this trailer was, but it's I think it's a continuation of this. It's not a new game, right?
I don't think it's a sequel. It's a female swordsman fighting monsters in a Eastern style, so I'm assuming Chinese probably
Yeah.
is a safe bet, but it's kind of hard to tell.
Wu Chang
Um,
sounds very Chinese to
yeah.
me.
So
Um,
I mean, but that's about all I know from it.
Next up, Avowed. I remember hearing about this a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
it's another
Valve's a known
trailer.
property.
Yeah.
It's it's a it has that feeling of like this one was claiming there when they did the reveal for this back in January as well. It was supposed to be able to switch between like magic and swordsmanship, like on the fly,
Oh yeah.
ranged and close, like kind of has that Skyrim or like Elder Scrolls vibe, but more capable magic essentially is what it is in
Gotcha.
combat.
Gotcha.
So
Next, Atom Fall. This one I do remember is I remember thinking is very Fallout like, which I was kind of like, oh, they're kind of just doing a Fallout thing. But then I was like, wait a second. I mean, there's a Fallout TV show, but besides that, it's been a really long time since Fallout 4 came out, which they just did the next gen update or whatever, and it's still selling. I mean, it was like top selling game in Europe, I think, whenever the Fallout series, whenever the Fallout TV show was on. So that's kind of weird. But anyway, so this Atomfall game looks like very similar to Fallout in some ways. Obviously, they don't have quite all of the same lore and stuff like that, but it is dealing with some of the same themes and ideas. So that it looks like it won't be bad. It looks like it'll be cool. And
yeah,
we'll
to
just
me,
see where it
it
goes.
kind of had more of a vibe akin to actually the Machine Games Wolfenstein games,
Right?
because
Yeah.
the way the robots looked, it kind of has that weird juxtaposition because you got the color and the countryside, but then you have machines, so it kind of reminds you of that. Was it Simon Stalenhag or Stalenhag? They made is like the robots in the field. They made a Amazon made a TV series, Into the Loop or something, or
Oh,
uh,
I watched the first episode of that. Yeah,
yeah. So that artist, because you always see like derelict machines in a flower
it
field or
is kind
something,
of like
or
that.
you
Yeah.
know. So that's kind of what it kind of resonated with me. Slash, it also just had that it's an alternate history type of thing. So it reminded me of the Wolfenstein remakes, and uh, yeah, you have the sort of like ghoul-esque monster they showed, and it looks like it'll be fun. It's different. They're going for something slightly different, but I can see the most definitely correlations between Fallout, but I think it'll be different enough. So
Yeah. Next up, they showed a longer trailer for Assassin's Creed Shadows. Also, kind of a known quantity right now, but it just kind of showed some more, and also some more trailer stuff or some more cinematic stuff. Um, looked looks all right. Looks like an Assassin's Creed game, and I think it'll be pretty good. Next up, something that you mentioned you were excited about the last time we heard about it. I don't know if there's really anything more to say, but Stalker 2. This one was shown. I feel like a more in-depth trailer was shown on this one.
yeah, Stalker 2. They did show more into it. Um, I mean, it looks good. That's about all I can really say. Is there's not really a whole lot. I'm with this one. I want to like it a lot, and so I'm just kind of wanting to keep it like uh step away from it and just kind of let it come out and kind of get my first impressions on it, like hands on. Uh, I mean, it's been a while. It's been a long time in the making. Granted, they have it's a Ukraine studio making it, so I mean they've so it's good to see something coming out. I guess fine from it's been a while, and yeah, I mean it looks good. I have high hopes. I think a lot of people do, and it's a beloved franchise. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
That's all I can say about it. I really do hope that I want it, but I also don't want to spoil it for myself.
yeah,
I'm just going to be games like this or like Metro. I really do like that kind of setting,
hmm
and the first Stalker game and the expansion, like Dark or something Skies, and there's one other expansion that I can't remember off the top of my head. I mean, I actually have the disc versions of those games. So
oh,
I don't have a computer that has a disk drive, but I have the disc still. So yeah.
dang. Wow. So okay. Well, yeah. Do you remember when that was supposed to come out, or is it just 25, or is it beyond?
I thought it was supposed to come out like the fall, but I don't think they actually officially have a release date. I think it's just still slated for 2024.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's hope that it comes out in good condition. Next up, there's new Xbox Series X consoles. Um, they have different
Oh,
colors.
I'm sorry. It's saying September 5th according to the wiki page.
Okay, Stalker
Uh,
2,
so
September 5th of this year, 2024. Okay, so yeah, look out for that. So you'll probably be playing that in September, I imagine. Yeah, so they mentioned that new Xbox Series X consoles. They have two new colors, and I think they have expanded storage as well. I don't know what else there was about these that was different, but
yeah, the white one, the Series X is all digital, 1 terabyte, double storage for the new Galaxy Black or something, disc version of Series X,
yeah,
and that was the big takeaway from those.
yeah,
So a lot of people are saying that's the right move because they don't need necessarily a plus console. Um, because if you did a half step, then you'd be pulling that much further away from the S, which is substantially weaker. And then that Rift will be even harder to do because you'll be making games for a superior, a mid-level, and a weak console. So
uh,
then, yeah, so they're just better off just leaving the S and X kind of as is, expanding the storage because their proprietary storage is expensive.
yeah, man. That S. I would not want to be in their spot with that. But I mean, yeah, they're making
It's
it
fine
work.
for what it is. It does its job just fine. I mean, if you're a college dorm or if you're small spaces, if you don't necessarily need if you have a 1080p monitor, it's perfect all for that.
That's all
I
you need.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, those colors did look pretty cool too. So finally, for the Xbox 2024 showcase, summer showcase at least, Gears of War E-Day was announced, and a cinematic was shown. That was pretty gruesome and bloody. So this is a prequel to the Gears of War series, and I was surprised. I was kind of surprised to see. I was like, "Oh, well, that's definitely Gears of War," and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess that's what they're gonna do with it." So didn't get to see any gameplay, but it is gonna be a game, I guess, at some point, and looks like they're kind of putting their best foot forward. They saved it for the end of the show, so that's always a place of honor. And yeah, looks like that will come out eventually. And then you said you were just you told me before the cast that you just recently been playing Gears of War. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, so a buddy of mine, we find a multiplayer game and we play those like often to completion. And it had been a very long time, years since I played it. But Gears of War, I think it was like the Ultimate Edition or whatever. They remade Gears of War, and it's on the Xbox. They also have the base Gears and like all the other ones on Game Pass. But yeah, we were playing through the very first game, that remake, and so this one being a prequel, it's kind of funny that it just happens to be what we're doing, playing. And this prequel happens to it's E-Days for Emergence Day. It's essentially when the ground opens up, and that's when the locusts come out, and that's kind of you're getting to learn the start of the war essentially. So it's yeah, people were wondering. It's been a while since they had a Gears game. I know the thought was like, hey, are we going to hear like about a Gear 6? Because they came out with 4, 5, and Tactics.
Mm.
So but no, nothing was known about a new entry. So like everything else, old is new, or you take it backwards. So it'll be fine. I'm kind of curious about it, but at the same time, I'm more curious about what they do in the future. Because when you do a prequel, especially with a game or something like this, you're like, you can't have new weapons because then you'd be like you're breaking the timeline. You're like, check out this new cool laser gun or something, like
Yeah.
so you'll have to have the retro versions of whatever the precursors, like the Lancer, because instead of having a chainsaw, the Lancer, there's the chainsaw gun. You'll have to have something else, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
Or
yeah.
he'll make it. You'll get to see them create it, and you're like, okay, there's your iconic thing.
I'm very dubious of prequels in general. They are usually not a whole lot of great comes out of them. But anyway, so but this at least looks like they're putting their best foot forward. So we'll see how good it ends up being. So that's it for the Xbox showcase. There were several other showcases. Um, uh, I'm just going to mention these other two: Wholesome Direct and uh, and Day of the Dev. Those came out. I watched a little bit of Day of the Dev. I didn't get to see any Wholesome Direct. Nothing from there really struck our fancy that hasn't already been mentioned. So we're just kind of mention that those exist and to go watch them if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And then the other one was a PC Gamer Showcase. So there's a couple games in here that I thought were kind of interesting. Stormgate, we were talking about RTSs earlier, and this has a bunch of developers from StarCraft back in the day, and this is really very much a StarCraft similar type of game. It looks to me, at least. And so they showed some of the creatures from this. And I was like, okay, this looks pretty cool. This looks like a kind of a StarCraft for 2024 or 2025, whenever this is actually going to, I think it's 25 when this might actually come out. But that one looked kind of interesting to me. And then Citizen Sleeper 2. Citizen Sleeper, I didn't really know or care any much about, but I like the art style for this Citizen Sleeper 2, and I'm going to look into it some more. People seem to be excited about it, so I'm going to at least check out what the hype is and then decide from there. Next is Unbeatable, or Unbeatable, I guess. This is a very tweeny type of game about a punk rock band. It is a rhythm game. Um, it does not really look like a game that I will play or really keep track of at all. But I don't know. I feel like mentioning it because it did look like a good attempt toward something like that. I like punk in general, and this is probably a little bit too kiddie for me. But I hope that it ends up being better than I thought, and I kind of hope that people kind of keep making stuff in this direction because I might actually play it if it's a bit more I don't know adult focused. But yeah, so that's all I had to say about the PC Gamer Showcase. Did you have anything in there or anything else you wanted to mention?
Well, I know Citizen Sleeper used to be on Game Pass, or at least you might want to double check there to see if it's available. And if you're lucky, then you can go ahead and give it a try and maybe get yourself primed for the sequel.
Yeah,
Um, but yes, other than that, there was just a lot of a lot of the games that we had already talked about from previous either the Xbox or PlayStation showcase. So that was listed on the PC gamers one. So there's not a whole lot extra, and I think that wraps up all the new news for all these these
new news.
showcases. Uh, it is it's been busy, but this is what happens when you lose E3, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We got. I mean, if we just have an E3 that, I mean, we should have been planning for this anyway, uh, because it's becoming a thing. I think it's going to become more of a solid sort of deal. As time goes on. Oh, I did want to ask you what you thought of the Xbox, at least the Xbox showcase as a whole. This compared to the state of play that was put out versus the game summer game fest that came out. I was wondering how you thought that it held up.
Um, I feel that they both were good. I think that Summer Game Fest. I mean, Keeley has his own production and his own rhythm and cadence. Uh, the this Xbox showcase was just like back to back, and
Yeah,
I feel like you lose a little something when it's just one thing after another because you start inadvertently comparing one game to its predecessor, and you start
yeah,
to lose. Like you're like, wow, that previous game looked great. This one looks doesn't look as hot, and or when at least when you have you just take a few minutes to talk to a developer to talk to or like to set you up for the trailer. I mean, not all trailers need to have explanations on them either, but just some of them might have been a little better or a little bit understanding of like what was their vision or why they're doing a certain way, because you might just write it offhand, or they're like, oh, at a quick glance it looks like another Souls like, or it looks like another this or that. What makes this 5v5 hero shooter different? What separates it from the others that are coming out? What makes you special? And opposed to just being like the this little 30-second segment of actual gameplay footage speaks for itself. No, no, it doesn't. In fact, it doesn't tell me a whole lot. It tells me it tells me that I'm making up my own decision and I might be off base. So
yeah.
I think having a little bit more curation, a little more guidance might be better. Just
Yeah,
my thought.
yeah, kind of letting a game breathe a little bit, and then kind of revamping up for the next one, might be a better idea. I thought the Xbox, I mean, showcase was really good. A lot of games that I'm just not really all that interested in, but it seems like they have a strong lineup, especially with all the properties that they just bought. And yeah, so those will continue to be strong for a while, I imagine. And but as far as the other showcases go, I mean, I felt like Gamer, for what I watched of it. I think I watched about half of it. I liked their presentation the most. I mean, they're goofy and funny, but they definitely looked like because they have been doing it for 10 years. They definitely looked like they knew what they were doing, as far as presenting the games and being hosts and making jokes that were admittedly bad, but they were bad on purpose, and they kind of knew when to shut up and show you the next trailer. So honestly, like as far as like the production goes, I really liked that the most. As far as the actual games that were shown, which is the meat and potatoes of all this, it was the Summer Game Fest. They definitely had kind of the most best stuff and kind of the most pomp and circumstance, I would say. So yeah, I'm thinking that's probably gonna make itself that kind of the king of what's going on. At this time of year. But Xbox was definitely no slouch, and looking forward to seeing what they have next year too.
Yeah, I mean, I guess as the when you look at both PlayStation State of Play, the Summer Game Fest, and Xbox, I mean, they covered everything we needed to know. They showed that they have a future still, obviously, um, and honestly, yeah, it was a good chunk of games. Some people. May disagree with the fact, me saying that it needs a little time to breathe because then the show goes much longer all of a sudden. Magically you're adding an extra like 50% or even 40% might be too much. Uh, but yes,
I don't even think you're
I
really
think
adding that much. I think like as long as you don't go straight from trailer to trailer, if you just have Jeff Keighley's face saying, "Well, that was cool. Let's talk to the dev," and to literally show like literally 1 minute of them talking about the game first and showing like the back rooms and new different things or the cubicles they're working in or whatever, then showing the game really does go a long way, I think, in kind of setting it up uh, for you to be more accepting of what they're about to show you. And I think
yeah,
only
the
it would
thing
only
is,
add like 5 or 10% to the show.
well, it's a way to kick off the summer too. I mean,
Yeah.
essentially we're just the this time around, schools have all pretty much been let go now, and so for all the kids out there, but this sets you up for through summer and into the fall season. We have then towards in August you got both Gamescom at the end of the month, and then you at the end of August you also have PAX West at the end of August. Then after that is a Tokyo Game Show in September, I believe.
Okay.
So that is, I mean, so we won't really hear a whole lot of, we won't have another big chunk of things that I don't think we will. There might be one or two other shows out there, but nothing quite that big until Gamescom, in my opinion. And yeah, so this is there's enough to get excited about. There's at least a handful of things for everyone to be to be happy to look forward to, and yeah, it's more. I'm just kind of curious how things pan out when it comes to because obviously everything's going to get delayed one form or another. But yeah,
Yeah.
just we have stuff to look forward to and be happy. So it's a good time to be a gamer. And if you haven't, if you do, there's nothing for you to play now. Well, there's sure as heck something in someone's back catalog you can pull out from some great list.
Certainly
So
is. Certainly is.
all right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get on to what we've been playing, and we're gonna keep this a little bit more short because we've gone along enough, and we'll touch base about what we've been playing and what we've been a little bit of what we've been watching. Do you need a break, Nick?
No, I'm good to go.
All right, all right. So I guess since last we actually talked, the last two times we've done a cast, we've not had a portion about anything about really what we've been playing. So I finally got around to platinuming Stellar Blade, and we'll have a different discussion about that later, more in depth. But uh, I honestly think it was worth my time. I had a good time with it. I forget what my final hour count was, but I think it was maybe like 80ish
Okay, wow.
hours, maybe 75 or 80. Um,
That
and that
goes right in line with the dollar per hour rule that I try to live by. A good game is
yeah,
a dollar per hour of play.
Well, then Avatar ripped you the heck off. I was gonna say because my metric for stuff is Nick's Avatar metric. So how many avatars is that? And that's generally because you quoted Avatar being good because it wastes that much time of your life for what you paid for, and I'm like, yeah. Um,
Okay. Yeah, movies are a bit different. Um, but
yeah.
yeah, they're a bit different. They're on a different pay scale. But yeah, games I try to do about an hour for $1. As long as it's keeping me interested, I think that's fair.
Yep. After I beat the game is roughly around the same time they launched that new patch. So I popped back in just to check out the new outfits. And they got two new Kunoichi white and black outfits, and then they had a third outfit behind the boss rush mode, which I didn't even touch. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I beat this sucker on. I beat the bosses on like the hard mode. Hard mode was okay until it was tedious later on, and like for just regular enemies like, but the beginning there's no real difference other than the amount of damage you take, but it really, because you're so overpowered. uh
Mm,
it wasn't until but the bosses are where it really started adding up, and if you hadn't memorized their patterns, that's where it really became the challenge, I think. And then of course, if you for those of most hardcore, you play in hard mode and you play without any armor, but that will never be me. So yeah, I think I pretty much hit the end of my game. I mean, I might try to do the final run, like do the boss rush mode at least once, but I just like I kind of burn myself out. I'm like, I'm done. So
it's 80 hours. Even close to 80 hours is it's a lot of one game. So I totally understand being like, all right, no mas, no more.
all right, and yeah, real quick, because I was playing I was telling a friend about Stellar Blade and Shift Up, and they're like, you know what? They're like, I recently started playing their mobile game, Nikke, and
Okay.
I'm like, really? I'm like, how is it? Because I haven't touched a mobile game in like a gotcha game in at least a couple years. They're like, you know what? It's not bad. It's but it's just like it's kind of the opposite of Blue Archive in a way, because Blue Archive has uh a particular type of petite anime girl, and like these girls aren't so petite. Uh, so
Mm,
these like they were used their excuses. They're using some of the character models as references for drawing, and I'm like, all right. I mean, he's like, yeah. I was like,
oh
there's not a
yeah.
lot of anime people characters of backs. It's like it's usually always you always see people in the front, and apparently in this game it's like a cover based shooter. Nikkei plays where you go ahead and you hold the button, like you can crosshair appears on your phone or your tablet, and you just move it around like a thumbstick, and it auto fires, and you have a squad of 5. I've only played like a handful of hours into it. It's competent. It's one of those games that doesn't have any like stamina meters, so you can just keep on playing the story mode as much as you want. But man, they have a lot of like story that at some point I'm like, I don't know if I can continue, or I'm just going to start smashing skip. I'm just going to keep on smashing the skip button. But just to prove my bad luck in these games, I did a couple 10 pulls for the early credits that you get, and I'm pulling just hot trash. I think on my third 10 pull, I had only out of 10 figures, I only got I had one new character, and everyone else was dupes. And there's only 5 unique individuals in my 10 pool. Like the top row 5 all matched two. Like there was 4 of one character, 3 of another, and then like one, and one. That was it. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. That is pretty sad. And I'm just screenshotting. I'm like, yep. I'm showing my buddy. I'm like, I can't make this up. My rolls are this bad. Um,
You
so
just
yeah,
gotta
it's just
roll
one.
more, man.
Well, I know, right? If it's the moment I put money into it, that's when I'll roll good, right?
Mm,
So give me your credit card, is what I'm saying.
no,
Help a brother out.
no, give it your own credit card.
No, because your credit card will have your luck on it, and therefore it'd be better.
It might be.
Yeah, it's just one of those funny things that I don't play the gotcha games really because, yeah, it's just my pulls have always been very bad. So it's kind of it's comical at this point. But yeah, and then the last game well, actually, I touched a little bit of Another Code Recollection. I don't know if you remember this game. Uh, it came out on the Switch. It was announced quite a while ago, but it's used to be it was Trace Memory was the original title, and it was a DS game. Uh, so this game was really unique for the time. Trace Memory had this really cool concept of, well, the story is just like girl kind of father disappeared for all her life and like sends her a note saying, "Hey, meet me on this island." It's like Blood Edward Island or something like that. And so she goes on a ferry boat, goes to find her father, and it's an adventure game. It is exactly what it is,
Mm.
but it's also there's a murder mystery behind like tied with her family, and so there's this behind the story scenes, and then she happens to come across a spirit, and there also has a mystery to solve. Um, it did really neat things with the DS at the time, and that was like you blow in the microphone to blow sand off of a stone tablet, or you have to get an imprint of something, so you use the DS, touchpad to scratch away at it, and so they kind of do they tweak some of those tools and stuff like that for the Switch. But the thing is, for me, I guess it was really hard to play because it still played like a really old, like it played like a DS game, but like they tried to modernize it just a little bit because the original DS didn't have a right thumbstick. So, and I'm trying to remember. I'm like, if I remember correctly, it played more of a tank controls kind of style. So
Mm.
by freely moving the camera, um, your field of view is really narrow. Like you're like right up on her shoulders, like just right in the back of the head. And I just felt like it kind of got in the way of gameplay, and it was just a little clunky. But so far, what I've been playing, I've been liking the actual play. It reminds me of it's a nostalgic kick, is what it is. I'm more curious about finishing the first game and then going in because this one has the sequel, which never got localized in the U.S. So I've never played the sequel, and I mean, the DS at the time had so many good games like that and Hotel Dusk and stuff like that. So it had some really excellent adventure games, story based stuff. So I'm kind of right now I had paused Another Code because of the next thing I played, which was Alan Wake. So that's why I hadn't gotten too far into the Another Code recollection, but I'll hopefully get back to that soon enough. But Alan Wake, it was just announced um, that the Alan Wake 2 Night Springs expansion came out, and of course I had to jump into that like right away. I was super happy I did. It's 3 episodes, each episode pertaining to a different character. From the trailer so no spoilers of the actual story, but the trailers, you have, um, I'm forgetting her name now, but the diner, um, the woman at the diner, it's a side story for her. It's Jesse Faden from Control, and it's Tim Breaker, who is Sean Ashmore's character.
Right.
Um,
He's like the sheriff, right?
and yeah, he's the sheriff. Yep. Slash Quantum Break's main lead.
Right.
So they have a lot of fun with that, and yeah, it's the first story is I think it's titled like Number One Fan, but these are done as episodes of Night Spring,
Hmm.
so they are. Um, I wasn't prepared for how short this was.
Okay.
Um, I was really hoping it'd be like closer to double this length. I honestly think I finished it between 3 and 4 hours for all of it. I think
Okay.
you can probably finish it faster than that, depending on how you played it. But I think within 3 to 4 hours, I had finished all the stories and gotten all the trophies. Granted, it automatically defaulted me on normal mode, uh, and because I had the last time I played the game was on the Nightmare. Uh, it seemed really easy, like wicked easy. But I had a really good time, and it was a really fun thing they did. You could tell they had a lot of fun with it. Um, I just also feel like part of me is just like, man, it's like getting a snack, like before getting your meal. Like this is not quite an appetizer. This is literally just enough to piss you off. I think
Mm.
it's just like this was really tasty. Now I'm hungry, and where's the rest of it? So yeah, the the other thing though is this game is I believe it's getting a physical. They mentioned it's getting a physical release, and I think it's in the fall.
Right.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
the game, and then I think the DLC is coming along with it or something.
that would make the most sense, which would mean that you kind of have a loose outlook for when the Lake House, I believe, was supposed to be the next title for the next DLC. So you kind of have if the physical copies coming with the DLCs on them, that means the DLC should be coming around at the same time at the latest. So
Yeah, yeah, you would think that. Yeah, I don't know if that. I don't know if that would include both, but it would make sense that they would include both on there. And then they'll probably be a similar length, I imagine, for the lake house. If maybe I mean maybe not, but yeah, I mean like I'm always asking for games to not waste my time and to not fluff things out. So you know, 3 or 4 hours for a DLC is not very long, but that
yeah,
might
it
be
wasn't
kind of the
long, but it was
idea.
a fun short. It was a fun experience.
That's
That's the
yeah,
thing.
that's what I'm saying. Like it's like, well, they don't waste your time. I mean, if you're saying that they don't waste your time and it's really good and fun, pure for 3 or 4 hours, then that's really what we're going for. Rather than just spending money on more time that's not fun. I'd rather spend money on less time that is fun. Um,
Yeah, quality over quantity for sure. But in this case, the physical edition, from what I'm looking at, has there's a limited edition where it comes with uh, like an embossed slipcover of like the tree. It comes with an art book, 160-page art book. It looks like it has the lamp that lights up. So I mean, that's like half the steps for most cosplayers now. All they have to do is grow themselves a beard and get themselves a tweed jacket of some sort. Uh, it comes with the Ocean View hotel key, and the game, and then 4 enamel pins. It looks like a Coffee World, the written logo. Um, what was it? Was it Coco the Moose, or I forget what the moose's name was? Mocha the Moose. Um,
yeah,
the pot mascot from Coffee World, and then the cardboard bear that pops up. So you get those 4 enamel pins.
nice.
Um,
I like enamel pins.
uh, yeah, I like enamel pins too. I've stopped collecting collector's edition limited stuff because of clutter, but like that the fact that the lamp lights up, and I'm like that it kind of hits a spot, but I'm like I'm not gonna do it. I don't want to, but I might.
It's not worth it. Not worth it, Joe.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, I don't think it says a price here, and I was looking more importantly for a date, but the things I've just quickly saw was physical edition set to release on October 22nd, 2024, which then hopefully that means that we'll be getting DLC Part 2 hopefully around that time. It just says the game that it's coming with is Alan Wake Deluxe Edition, and the Deluxe Edition comes with the DLCs. So whether or not it's on disc, I would hope it's on disc, but you can see it also just being the DLC being download content literally. So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to have a complete thing, all the patches, everything on a single disc, so you don't have play it straight. But that's not how things work nowadays. So there's you have it. Your expectations have been set, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that it's getting a physical at all. I guess they finally have enough content and it's got enough maybe acclaim and sold enough. Maybe they feel like, hey, we can actually put this out in physical. I kind of wish
Kind
it'd
of
been
their
that
own
way.
limited run, pretty much, right?
Yeah, I wish they'd done it day one. I would have had it. You know, I like to collect plastic boxes. But and,
People were too afraid. I think they hedged their bets in the right way because Alan
yeah,
Wake has been such a like forgotten property,
yeah,
like cult classic. But I don't think they planned on it hitting as mainstream as it did.
yeah. I definitely didn't expect it to be literally a game of the year in a lot of people's minds or runner up. You know, for a lot. So that was definitely hugely surprising. I was surprised to like it as much as I did. You know, so
Which was a proud moment for me because I was banging that drum for so dang long that I was just like, and for you to come out enjoying it, I'm like, yes, all right, great. It's just one of those things that, especially if you harp on something so long and then your friend hates it, they're like, I can't trust anything you say now because you've been telling me to play this forever or to watch this thing forever, and turns out to be trash. then everything else you say, I'm like, no, you remember that one time I listened to you? Yeah, that's your level, that's your bar now.
It's yeah, I can never live it down at that point.
But no, yeah, so it's a great game. I'm glad it's getting a physical. I stopped collecting physical a while ago, but I kind, like I said, it's just, yeah, support them as you can, and yeah. All right, guy. Have you played anything? Like I know you're getting ready for your trip, and you've been doing too busy editing our stuff.
Yeah, so
So
like you platinumed Stellar Blade, but I only just now got to finishing it. So we'll talk about that a little later. But besides that, I haven't been able to play anything. I've been looking at some different things. Thinking about maybe getting something for the plane, but I think I might just go back to trying to finish up some things in Tears of the Kingdom because it's still there. So it must be done. Um,
just throw it in the trash.
just throw it. It's a good game, man. It's a very good game.
Just no, I'm saying move on, step on, just forget about it, just put
Gotta
it on the
be
shelf.
gotta be
You
canon.
know,
Gotta be canon. But I might get something else in the meantime. The thing is that is that like any game that I really like want to play a lot, I'm gonna want to play it on PlayStation because I want those trophies. But I might do something else. I might get something different. I don't know, but we shall see. Haven't been able to play anything besides Stellar Blade though, so that's where I'm at right now. Hopefully, I'll have something more next time we meet.
all right. And recently you had been watching something, and I'll let you talk about that.
So I watched a movie called Upgrade from
I've
2018.
never even, yeah, I didn't even hear of this. So, uh, yeah, let me know. What is it?
So this is a um, I would call it light cyberpunk, sort of, maybe not quite so light cyberpunk. It is cyberpunkian, and it's about a um, I don't know how much to say without spoiling stuff because a lot of it's at the very beginning. It's not a very long movie, but basically it is about a guy that is seeking revenge, and he is disabled in a very serious way, but he gets a kind of a deal with the devil sort of thing, and gets a upgrade to his nervous system, and then looks. He kind of investigates what he needs to, and gets and like looks for revenge. But there's also more going on beneath the surface. Um, not not particularly great, but definitely if you're already into cyberpunk, something that you could do worse. You could watch something that's worse. I imagine. This is it's short and sweet. It doesn't really waste time. Um, doesn't really give anything too new or weird or exciting. But if you like cyberpunk as an aesthetic, this will kind of scratch that itch a little bit. Um, it's all right. It was definitely not a bad movie. I don't think. Um, but I don't want to say too much more before or without giving stuff away. But
I
it's pretty
remember
good.
seeing a trailer for this and being like, that looks like they tried to get a Tom Hardy look-alike. Is all I can remember in that trailer.
Yeah,
Um,
he is a little bit Tom Hardy looking. Um, and yeah. Anyway, it was not too bad, but that's about all
okay.
I can say about it.
All right. Well, on that glowing recommendation, I will probably not get around to it. That, in fact, that I don't have Netflix. So, all
Yeah.
right. Now, real quick, it's been a bit since I've talked about some anime. Uh, so it's one of the new animes that came out recently. That's getting English dub as well. Is Dead Dead Demons, Destruction. Yeah, I didn't just stutter. That's literally what it's written, and it's it's unique. So rough storyline is episode one. Um, aliens make contact. Kind of, the ship comes into effect and just kind of hovers around Tokyo. and other spots of the world apparently. But they don't show anything else. And then they just stay there, not making contact for like 3 years. It does a time jump. Um, episode one's kind of slow, but the art style is unique. It's different enough, and it has this kind of slight oppressive tone. Like it's kind of like a little bit depressing, a little bit unsure because the main girl, like she's doing the whole high school thing of talking about your future plans, and she's trying to like she's smart, but apparently she's giving up on college so she can work because her mom is pretty much stays at home, and I guess the mom's like a big hypochondriac because there's a new type of thing in the air because of the aliens. Not it's like they don't really say what it is. Like in the scope of things, it's like some sort of particle, like radiation, but not. And apparently, it doesn't do anything to people. But of course, people are freaking out, or at least they're worried about it in a certain way. So it's kind of a unique thing. Her dad goes missing, like since when the event happened, and so she doesn't know what's up with her dad. Um, and I thought this was already out. That was the thing is I remember seeing this a while ago, being like, "Oh wait," because I remember hearing someone else talk about how it's pretty good, and I was like, "All right, hmm." And then I went did a little research, and I'm like, "Oh wait, they have an episode 0, like from a while ago, like a little while ago." I'm like, "All right, that's interesting." So I went ahead and I checked that out. So I watched episode 1, then I followed it with episode 0. Uh, and I think they had episode 2 is also up, but I haven't had a chance to watch that yet. But episode 0, I think I watched it in the right order. I think I prefer to watch episode 1 and then watch it with 0 because 0 starts off kinda hard and fast, and it really throws a lot of weird at you, and it's good, I think. It's like it's still a little too early to tell, but it's just like, you have me most definitely interested. Um, and with that, I don't wanna say too much about it without spoiling it, but that's also like it does a jump in time, as it were. And I'm not gonna say which directions or whatnot, but it's if you wanna give it a shot, give episode 1 a shot, then hunt down episode 0, give that one a shot. Um, and if you're not interested by that, if it hasn't piqued your interest or if it doesn't seem like your cup of tea, then bail. Uh, I like, usually I say give it 3 episodes, but I honestly I think I've gotten enough vibe from those 2 episodes. Like, episode 1 was weird, like, just it's just confusing, but it had me intrigued. And then after episode 0, I'm like, all right, I'm cool. Unless they really start to screw this up, I'm down for what they're gonna dish out. Um, so I'm just kind of like, man, I really hope that like part of me is like hoping it doesn't get too dark. Like I don't really need a dark and brooding series or a lot of emotional stuff, but I'm like, yeah, it's just the main group was in episode 1 is just a bunch of high school friends, and I'm like, it's like, all right, we'll see how this plays. But episode 0 has more action and more intrigue, and I kind of want to see the filler or like the things in between and where things go from there. So yeah. All right, there's that. And then they came out with, I mentioned this before, but this was slated Baki Hanma versus Kengan Ashura. And I don't know if so you probably, Baki. Uh,
Mm.
you know, used to loosely based off of like martial arts in the beginning. It's supposed to be like, this kid following his father whose father killed his mom out of with his pure strength of a bear hug, and he's like this martial arts monster master who everyone fears and is like a global national weapon, um, who no country can own. And that series went from like stupid but and it, like grounded to just like ridiculous, just to the point where they're like the whole point is fighting for tournaments, a secret underground tournament for pride, and then fighting against like literal serial killers who use guns and everything and grenades and stuff, and
Yeah.
then resurrecting prehistoric human who fought T-Rexes. And yeah, so it got really dumb, just really really dumb. uh while Kengan Ashura is very much the same tournament style fighting anime, but instead it's what happens if all the corporations just wanted to settle to territorial disputes or any like rights, like, hey, I want to buy that company or I want to buy that building. All right, we'll send our fighters and we'll fight and bet on it. And that's how that one. And they literally do like they go to an island for this tournament. Essentially, is how it goes. And like that one is slightly more grounded. Still has some silly, stupid stuff like people who tap into all their power, who have some sort of special blah 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 technique. I don't know, just raised by assassins. Of course, because you always have to have those. And so now the two main characters get to be in one movie together, one 60-minute movie. Awesome. I wasn't expecting them to have 3 matches in one movie. I was expecting it just to be like intro and 1 match. That's it. I was legit expecting that. But no, they had 3 matches and it was decent enough pace. The pacing was okay. And then let's see here. How did I put this? So the climax, so the whole thing is climaxing into an unremarkable circle jerk. Because that is how I felt when it comes to the two main characters deciding to fight each other. I'm like, because they can't have a winner, meaning that one series is better than the other. And it's just them showing and countering all their superhuman flash moves. Like, oh, he's using this super special technique. Oh, he took that one on the chin, and now he's using this super special technique. And it's like, it was just a fluff piece. It was just like, it was pathetic. And then when it's coming to a head, we're like, and we have some people interrupting, we have, it's like then of course Baki's father comes and some other martial arts comes and they interrupt the thing and they're like, we'll have to postpone it for another time. And then the next thing is Baki's father and this other guy are gonna have a match when it's officially sanctioned. And I'm like, okay, so now we have set up for number 2. Awesome.
Yeah, that's what happens
Yeah.
with anime movies is a lot happens and nothing really changes. Nothing really happens. It all kind of comes back to where it was at square one. But was the action cool at least?
It was better than it had been in a while. So the Kengan Ashura had that kind of crappy CG, like cel shaded CG. I mean, it was good for that Netflix style of CG because they've done a lot of other stuff prior, which is just hot trash.
Yeah.
And this one wasn't great, but it was like that series was okay. Well, what they did is they, instead of doing it in that art style, they did this Baki versus Kengan in like actual animation, or like so it's not that you can tell it's not just straight up CG, which is awesome. One of the characters, the side characters, his like Kengan's like manager like guy, he has a lot of facial expressions which always looked ridiculous in the CG because he does like a lot of the like Japanese surprise, like long stretchy faces, like oh no. And so watching it every now and then he'd do that, and I'm like, and my brain kind of had to like refocus because I'm so used to, I remember him like every time he do something like that being in a certain art style, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm okay with this, and I actually prefer this more quote unquote traditional anime look to it. And the first 2 matches were good. Yeah, they were. Like I said, it's, if you like, especially if you like the tournament style and stuff like that, this was okay, but just like the final scene was just like, it was just pathetic. So, but it's only 60 minutes. And so therefore it respected my time in the grand scheme of things. And I'm like, I'm okay with that. It's just like, for the most part, one and done. If I never see a sequel, that's fine, but they'll probably come out with one in a year's time is my guess. And that's fine. So long as they are kind of short, concise, and to the point. Because like I said, the last bunch of Baki stuff, like 2 seasons of Baki was garbage. And Kengan was more about the straight up fighting, as ridiculous as it was, but it wasn't that stupid. So I found that this boiled it down to a simpler form, and I was like, all right, that's fine. So yep.
Okay. Well,
I'd give it like a 6.
okay.
If you want to watch it, if you like to see some guys, if you like the whole like muscle aesthetics and just people beating each other up, I'm like, you kind of have to pick a show first, one of the major shows. I mean, you could watch this, but you don't know any of the people, their backstories. They kind of explain it briefly, but it's like, oh, you have that one so he's you know how he fights, so you're kind of excited about how he's going to fight the other dude, and then or you meet someone
Yeah.
else in this movie, and you're like, why is his face half ripped off?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it's
I've
like
heard enough about Baki to know that it is. I mean, hearing about people talk about it is kind of cool, though. But it's just like wrestling. It's just like, wow, that's funny to talk about, but and interesting to talk about. But actually watching it and trying to take it seriously, or trying to figure out the comedy of it that is also sort of somehow serious. I just don't. I don't think I'm the kind of person that can really do that. So yeah,
it's a confusing thing to watch because I can't necessarily say it's a second screen experience, only because you're watching it for the fight scenes,
yeah,
right?
you
You
gotta have
want to
eyes
see
on
the
it. Yeah,
action
yeah,
and all the ridiculousness that, and but you don't want to pay attention to it like you would, like you don't want to give it your undivided attention.
yeah.
Um,
Weird.
so it's something like it's a good like if you're playing something on your phone, or you're like if you're half on your phone, but then you can drop your phone at any given time to look at the TV, that might be the best way to play it, but not necessarily if you're like playing something a little more serious on your monitor and having the second one, and then this being on the side, because
Yeah,
chances are you're going to be focused on it, and then you're going to be missing this stuff, and then you have to stop, rewind, and that's something you don't want to do. So it's
yeah,
kind of a weird one. That's why I said it's just a 6. If you like all that fight stuff, if you like big shonen, you know, fight fest, go for it.
yeah.
But if you want something in depth, avoid it.
I mean, I kind of wish I liked that stuff. I kind of wish I liked it because it'd be cool to have another one of those. I mean, the art, I definitely respect the art of the manga from Baki. It is pretty wild. It's kind of ridiculous, but
The OG stuff is really good.
yeah,
As the series as seasons went on, and is because they dropped the series for a long time, then they brought it back years later, and with the current art of the time, and then that's when things kind of got bad. But the original stuff was solid.
yeah. So it's one that I enjoy hearing about, but I'm not gonna delve into. But I'm glad you liked it enough to give it a 6 at least, um, and
Yeah,
that
this
you'll be
movie was
watching for
like
the
I said,
next one.
the series not so much, but like
Yeah,
the actual movie, like I said, I was happy it boiled it down and
give it a
did a lot in a short time. Now, if you had to pick, like I said, most definitely check out. I would say, um, check out that Dead Demons, Destruction. I really think that's it's piqued my interest a lot,
okay.
and I'm kind of excited about that one. I just hope it doesn't end complete crap. Is what I'm hoping. I don't want to be let down. I don't want to have a big downer of an ending, but I wouldn't be surprised if it went that way. Um, but I like that it seems like it has more substance for sure. And that's it. So if you've been wondering why we haven't talked about more about Stellar Blade, we are going to talk about that on a separate thing. So hopefully we'll get that. We'll get some time to do that. But until then, if you made it to the end, thanks, guys. I know it's been a long one. We just finally needed to talk about the games and shows we've been watching, and
Yeah,
the showcases have really been taking up most of this stuff. So sorry if we missed out on any of the other real news out there, but this has kind of been the important stuff, most topical, I should say. So yes, and then Nick, what are some of the words of wisdom you can give to these people?
plan your life around the summer game announcements next June.
All right. And once again, this has been another Dead Pixel, episode 80. Until the next time, y'all just take it easy.
Bye.